Hello and welcome to the demonstration. My name is Philip and I'll be presenting for you today, and in this demonstration we're going to go through the overall design process using Home Designer software by Chief Architect. We have several different Home Designer software programs. I'll be using Home Designer Professional today, but if you're using one of our other Home Designer software programs, I'll try to call out the tools and features that vary by program as I use them. Off to the right here, you can see a picture of the design that we're going to be creating. And we're going to start off the demonstration by creating our initial floor plan and then go through and define the different room types. We'll then add doors and windows, add a second story, add stairs, add electrical, add our roof, take a look at our framing, and then create a layout sheet, which is a feature only in Home Designer Pro. And throughout the demonstration, we'll be using the various 3D rendering techniques available in the software. So let's get started. So here we are in Home Designer software. Up at the top you'll have your architectural tools, and these will be things like walls and doors, windows, cabinets, and so forth. And these same tools are available through the drop-down menus at the top. Off to the right hand side you'll have the library browser, which will contain thousands of items that you can use in your design. There's the core catalogs, which are just going to download with the program automatically. And then there's the bonus catalogs and manufacturer catalogs, which you can download from our website. And then the user catalogs is where you can store items that you frequently use or that you've custom created for your designs. I'm going to go ahead and close the library browser. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw the general shape of our floor plan. So to do this, I'm going to go over to our wall parent tool. And when I select it, you'll notice that I have child tools come up. So you'll notice we have a straight exterior wall, an interior wall, a foundation wall. If you're using Home Designer Pro, you have a dedicated tool for pony walls, shower walls, and then other options. So I'm going to start with our straight exterior wall, and I'm just going to click and drag our wall tool. And as I'm dragging, you'll notice that I get a temporary dimension. You don't use these dimensions at this point to dial in the final dimensions of your floor plan. Use them more as a guide at this point. And notice when I come over, there's going to be a blue coplanar line letting us know that we're even with that wall on the other side. So that lets us know if I release there and then drag up, we'll connect that other wall. Once I connected all four walls, you'll notice that a couple of things happened. First, our automatic exterior dimensions are displaying outside of our house, and we'll use these to dimension our floor plan. And then we also have green dashed lines indicating where our roof plane is. We can take a 3D view at any time by going up to the 3D option at the top and then selecting Create Perspective View. And I'm going to create a perspective full overview, which will be like a bird's eye view of the entire model. So you can see that the program has automatically put a roof on our plan, our walls are generated and they have siding, and the program has automatically generated a foundation. Using this mouse orbit camera feature and left clicking on your mouse, you can rotate around the model. If your mouse has a scroll wheel, you can click and hold on that scroll wheel to pan back and forth. And if you use that scroll wheel again, you can zoom in and out of your model. So very easy to navigate around the plan. Let's go ahead and close this 3D view. And I'm going to use another 3D camera by selecting our 3D cameras shortcut here in the toolbar. And I'm going to select the dollhouse view, which will be similar to that full perspective overview, except for the roof and ceiling are intentionally removed so that we can look into the design. You can see that the program has automatically put a flooring and a molding into the plan, just making the design process a little bit easier for us. So next, let's dimension our floor plan, and we can work in 2D and 3D at the same time by coming up to this 3D tab right here and then just pulling it side by side with our floor plan view. Additionally, you could have gotten into that view by going to Window and then Tile vertically. So next, let's dimension our floor plan, and you can see that this wall at the top is 26 feet 7 inches. So if we wanted to change this wall's length, either the wall on the right or the wall on the left is going to have to change its position in the plan. I'm going to select the wall on the right, and when I do that, you'll notice I can come back to this dimension, and when I hover over it, I can click on it and then just type in a new dimension, and then using the tick symbol will make it 43 feet and press enter, and then the program is going to bump that wall out to accommodate for that change in space. So I'm going to continue working my way around the floor plan, going to this wall next, and I'm going to select the wall in the front, select our dimension, type in our new dimension and press enter, and then that wall is going to be moved as well. As I'm working my way around the floor plan, you'll notice that I'm working in a clockwise direction. This is a good general dimensioning approach just to make sure that you don't accidentally move walls that you've already dimensioned. And it looks like I'm going to have to reconnect these walls. So I'm going to select this wall, move it out, and then with that wall still selected, in Home Designer Pro you have a little diamond handle that lets you redraw that same wall type back into place. So I'm going to use that diamond handle and just draw it back in. And if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Suite, you would draw it back into place by selecting the wall tool and clicking and dragging it in. And then the last wall we need to dimension is this wall in the front, so I'm just going to bump it back a little bit. And there we have all of our exterior walls in place. If we come over here into our 3D view and rotate it slightly, and then take a look at a picture of the final design, you'll notice that the final design has a slightly different material than that's currently being used in the plan. There's a couple of ways you can change this in Home Designer software. First, if you select your exterior wall tool and then hold Shift on your keyboard and then do a marquee over these walls, you'll select all of these walls and you can open up their specification. And that Shift Marquee Select option works on other objects like cabinets and windows and doors and so forth. With those walls selected, you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner there's edit tools that you can use to further interact with the object. I'm going to select on this edit tool on the far left called Open Object, and we're going to open up the wall's specification for editing. On the left-hand side, you have different panels of categories that you can change about your walls. In the middle, you can make the changes. And on the right-hand side, you can see a 3D preview as to what these changes will look like. So here we are on the General panel where you can make general changes to the walls. If you come down to the Structure panel, which is a feature available only in Home Designer Pro, you can tell the program how your wall should interact with other structural information. You can tell the program how the roof should build over any particular wall. If you're using Home Designer Pro, you have the Foundation panel, which you can tell the program how foundation walls should behave underneath individual walls. In Home Designer Pro, you have this panel for wall types, which we'll take a look at in a minute. And if you're using Home Designer Architectural, these wall types option are back on the General panel. If you're using Home Designer Architectural or Pro, you can define a wall covering, you can specify different railing options and so forth. If we go back to this wall types panel, you can see that we're using a wall type called Siding 6. And if you select this drop down, the program ships with a lot of different wall types, and in Home Designer Architectural and Professional, you can define how these wall types are composed. If I select on Define, you can see the wall types that we have in our plan. You can create new wall types or modify existing wall types. For this Siding 6 wall type, you can see the material that we're using, how this material displays in our floor plan, and how thick these individual materials are. So you can see that our exterior material is a lap siding that looks like this blue material in our 3D view. In our floor plan view, it's going to be this little white block with dash line, and it's a little bit difficult to see, but the majority of this wall type is using the gray fill, and that lap siding is a 1/2 inch thick. If we double click on that material, it'll open us up to the library browser where we can pick a different material to use for our exterior siding. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to browse down to our manufacturer catalogs, and I'm going to go down to James Hardie, and I'm going to use a manufacturer material offered by our James Hardie manufacturer. And if I select on this folder, you can see a preview of all the different materials available. And I'm going to select on this one called Booth Bay Blue and click on OK. And then we're going to click on OK again. And then one more time. And there we've changed that material currently being used on our exterior walls. Additionally, you can make material changes directly in your 3D view by opening up the library browser. And then just going over to your catalogs. And then just scrolling down to a catalog that you want to find a different material from. And then as I bring my mouse into the plan, you'll notice that it changes to a spray can, indicating that we can apply this material into our plan. So I'm just going to click on the walls that I want to change. In this case, this front wall on the right, and then this front wall on the left. And we'll go into more detail about applying materials later on. I'm going to go ahead and close our library browser for now. So now our materials in the plan match the materials in the photo. So next let's go through and add our interior walls. But before we do that, let's reposition our 3D view and then zoom in on our floor plan a little bit. And then next, to add our interior walls, go up to your wall tools and then select the straight interior walls, and then just come into your plan and click and drag where you would like this wall to be added. And you'll notice that as I'm adding this wall, we get that temporary dimension. If you want to hide this in Home Designer Pro, you can turn that off by pressing this temporary dimensions option. And if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Suite, you can go up to View and then Temporary Dimension to turn off the display of that. So next, let's continue adding the rest of our interior walls into the plan. And then we can select them and move them around a little bit if we would like. And as I added those interior walls into our plan, you'll notice that our exterior dimensions updated. So next, let's dimension these room sizes that will be leading from what will eventually be our garage into the main body of the house. And to dimension these room sizes, I'm going to go up to our manual dimension tools. And there's a couple of different options. There's just a manual dimension, there's an end-to-end dimension. In Home Designer Pro, there's an angular dimension, an interior dimension tool, and then in Home Designer Pro also a point-to-point dimension. We're going to use our interior dimension tool, and then I'm just going to click and drag it through the rooms that I want to dimension. And if we zoom in close on one of these dimensions that we added, you'll notice that's going from framing layer to framing layer of the interior side of these walls. So next, to redimension these rooms, select on one of these walls, select on the corresponding dimension, and our program thinks in inches, so you can just type in the amount of inches that you would like this room to be. And keep in mind that that's going to be from framing layer to framing layer. And then we're going to change this dimension to be 8'3". And then we're going to adjust this wall right here to be 60 inches or 5. And then the last one we're going to dimension is going to be right here to just be an even 6 feet 11 inches, and press enter. So now that we have our interior walls and dimensions in place, let's take a look at our foundation. If we zoom out in our floor plan and then go to the top of the screen, you'll notice that there's little arrows indicating that we can go to a different level in our plan. I'm going to select this option for down one floor, where you can see that Home Designer software has automatically put a foundation underneath our exterior walls. We can view a similar view in our 3D view by going into the 3D tab and then just coming over here and going down one level. And there we can see our straight foundation walls. You can rebuild your foundation by going up to Build, Floor, Build Foundation. And you'll notice that Home Designer software has this automatic rebuild foundation setting checked, so that whenever you move your exterior walls, your foundation walls just follow it. And if you're using Home Designer Pro, you can specify whether you want your foundation to be grade beam on piers, or whether you want to hang your first floor platform inside the foundation walls. In Home Designer Pro, you have more advanced options for editing your foundation walls or specifying garage options for your foundation. I'm going to go ahead and press cancel for this. I just wanted to show you that it was there. But you can always select these walls and drag them across if you need to edit them. And if you go up to your wall options, there's an option for straight foundation wall that you can use to just click and drag in new foundation walls. Let's go back up to the first floor in both our floor plan view and in our 3D view. And with our auto rebuild foundation setting turned on, let's next define this area over here as a garage and take a look at what happens to our floor and our foundation. So to define this room as a garage, select an area, and then in the bottom left hand corner select Open Object. And this is going to open up the room specification dialog box. Here we can define the room type that this space will be used for, and defining a room type is important because the program has smart features that automatically applies to the room based on the default setting, such as how the foundation should build under the garage, or how room's flooring or molding should appear. Let's go ahead and specify this as a garage, and in the graphic on the right hand side we can see structural information. And if we go down to the structure panel, you can tell the program what your finished ceiling height value should be, and as I hover over these different fields, you'll notice on the right hand side those fields appear in red, just making it easy to understand the pieces of information that you're going to be changing. Down below you can also specify whether you want to vault the ceiling, and if you're using Home Designer Pro you'll have more advanced information about the ceiling structure and finish that you can define. You can specify information about the deck if it was a deck room, change the molding type that you're using, or if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Pro, add a wall covering. Let's go ahead and just keep it this room type as a garage. Press OK. And you'll notice there that the program automatically made an adjustment to the flooring so that it has a concrete material and is more appropriate for a garage space. And if we look back in our floor plan view, you'll notice that the program has automatically added a room label with the size in it. Similarly, if we click over in this space and open up the room, and we tell the program that this room is going to be used for a kitchen, and let's actually change the room name that displays in our floor plan view to say kitchen dining, and click on OK. You can see that we get that room label, and maybe it would be more appropriate to move it up here into the plan. And if we look in our 3D view, you can see that the program has automatically changed our flooring material. And if you don't like this flooring material that the program is using, there's several ways you can change it. And one quick way we can change it is just by going up to this material eyedropper tool, which allows us to select a material off one area or object in the plan, in this case the flooring in the adjacent room, and then apply it throughout other areas of the plan. So next, let's go ahead and add some doors into our plan, and I'm going to start in our front area of the plan. And there's several ways you can add doors into the plan. You can go up into your door tools, and there's just a straight hinge door, a doorway, a sliding door, pocket doors, bifold doors, and so forth. I'm just going to select our straight hinge door and then come into the plan, and as I move my mouse over this wall, you'll notice that I get a little gray outline indicating where it's going to be placed. And I'm just going to click once to place it, and you can see how that looks in our 3D view. And if we go back to our floor plan view, you'll notice that the program has automatically added that door and our exterior dimension has updated. If we go back to our 3D view, let's go ahead and double click on the door to open up its specification. And in this door specification, you can change the door style that we're using for this particular door. You can also change the door type that we're using. You can change information about the size. You can change different options for this door. You can change the casing, and in Home Designer Pro you can change the casing profile. In Pro you can also add a lintel, you can add a jamb in Pro, there's different shutters and other various options. Let's go back to the general panel, and I'm going to change the door style by clicking on library, and that's going to open up our library browser, and it's going to be context sensitive so that all you see is door options that you can pick from. Just one way the software is making it easy for you to add things to your design. And I'm going to use a door from our Therma-Tru manufacturer, and I'm just going to come in here and select a door, and then just click on OK, and then just click on OK again to add it to the plan. And if you take a look at a photo of the finished design, you might recall that the door in the completed photo doesn't match what we currently have in our 3D rendering, and we'll adjust this material here in a little bit. But next, let's go ahead and add some side lights on either side of the door. So what I'm going to do is in our door tools, we have this option for fixed, and I'm going to select it, and then I'm just going to come into our plan and then just place it right next to the door we just placed, select it, and then move it until it bumps up against the door. And then you might recall in the photo that we need to add some lights into the side right there. So I'm going to double click on it to open up its specification. And then to add lights, go to this option on the left that says lights. We're going to specify that we have 2 across and 3 vertical. And the program's just going to evenly space those for us. And then I'm going to press on OK. And then I know that I need another copy of that side light on the other side right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to our bottom toolbar, and I'm going to press copy. And then there's a couple other copy options that pop up. And I'm going to select this option for reflect about object. And when I press that, as I move my mouse in the plan, you can see other objects that we will be reflecting that copy about. And with that front door selected, I'm just going to click once, and there we have the copy on the other side. So the next thing I want to do in this space is just make sure I have them centered over the front by holding Control and selecting all 3 objects. And then in the bottom toolbar, there's this option that says Center Object. And when I click it and then hover my mouse over the plan, you can see different objects that we can center these objects about. And I'm just going to click once for this front entryway. And there we know that we precisely have those objects centered in the front. So next, let's add a garage door over into this area of the plan. And our garage door tool behaves similarly to the other doors in that you just go up to the tool and then just click to place it into the plan. And then we are going to double click on it to open it up. and I'm going to go to the width here, and I'm going to change it to be 16 feet wide. And if you take a look at a photo of the completed design, we're going to be modifying the garage door to be a more modern glass panel door type. So how we're going to do this is we're going to change the door style from our default style to be a glass panel. And then if you go down to the options panel, in Home Designer Professional, you have a feature right here to specify the number of vertical panels that you would like. I'm going to change this to be 4 panels. And you can see that that's starting to form over in our 3D preview. And then I'm going to select this option for all glass to make them all have glass inside the panel. And then if we go back up to the general panel, here you can specify information about the panel frame widths. So I'm going to uncheck this option for uniform, and I'm going to specify that they should be 120 inches from the left side, 4 inches from the right, 4 inches from the top, and then 4 inches from the bottom, and then just click on OK. And there, that garage door is going to be that new, more modern door style. And then I'm just going to make sure I have it centered on our garage by first rotating our view slightly, selecting the door, and then selecting our center object tool, and then just coming up and making sure I have it centered. And there we know that that garage door is centered over our garage. So next, let's go in and add a few more door types. We're going to come into this area, which could be a mudroom or a laundry room, and we're just going to add a door going into here. We're going to go up to our door tools, select just our hinge door, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you'll notice there that a couple things we need to change about it. One, the hinge side is wrong, and we can change this by selecting it, and then in the bottom toolbar there's an option to change the hinge side. You'll also notice that there's an option to show that door open in our 3D view. And then we're going to change the door style that we're using so it's a little bit more appropriate. So I'm going to double click on the door to select it, and then I'm just going to change it to be a slab, and then click on OK. And that's going to complete that door. Next, we're going to add a door going into what could be a water closet. So I'm going to go back to our door tools, make sure I have the door selected, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you'll notice that that door style was a little bit different immediately because these are two interior rooms. But next, let's go ahead and add a doorway leading into our house. So I'm going to go back to our door tools, make sure I have the doorway selected, and then just come in and click once to place it. And then I'm going to make sure I have it centered in this room by selecting the door, selecting the center object tool, and then just making sure I have it centered. And then the last door type that we're going to add is going to be a sliding barn door. In this area, that might be a pantry. So I'm going to go up to our door tools and then go down to our sliding barn door, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you can see how the program automatically placed it with a door and then the appropriate hardware. And if we open up our library browser and then go to our bonus catalogs and then go down to doors, there's an option for additional sliding barn door hardware that you can download from our website. So I'm just going to come down in here and select different hardware that I want to use, and I'm going to select this big spoke wheel track, come in and click once to place it, and then same thing with the roller. And you can see how the program automatically updates that directly in our 3D view. And then I'm going to go to the door panels and then select a different door panel that I would like to use. And then the last doors type that we're going to add is going to be French doors going out to our backyard. So I'm going to go back up to the door tools, and then with our hinge door selected, just come in and click once to place it. And then I'm going to double click on this door to open it up. And I'm going to change the style to be something a little bit more appropriate. And then just click on OK. And then as I resize my doors, you'll notice that as I resize them, they become a set of double doors. Once you pass 48 inches, the program automatically changes them. I'm going to come up, I'm going to double click on them to open it up, and then change the width to be 60 inches and press OK. And there we have those doors completed. So next, let's go ahead and add some windows into our design. And what we're going to do here is add some windows into the front, show how you can customize them and dimension them within your floor plan. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize our photo. I'm then going to close our library browser. And then I'm going to reposition our 3D view so that we are looking at the front of our house, just in this wall in particular. And then to add a window, I'm going to go up to our window tool, and you'll see that there's several window child tools. There's just a general window, a bay window, a box window, and a couple other options. But I'm just going to use our regular window tool, and I'm going to come into our wall here and then just click once to place it. And you can see how the program added it, but I can select it, and then just like with our other tools, there's options in the bottom left hand corner to customize it. And I'm just going to open up this window, and here at the very top here you can specify the window type that we're going to be using. So I'm going to change it from our default type to be a fixed glass, but you can see that there's a lot of types available with the program. Down below here you can customize the size of it. So I'm going to make it 78 inches wide and leave it the height at 48 inches. And then you'll notice that there's panels here on the left hand side, and these panels work the same how they did with the doors. And that's one of the nice things about the software is you often learn how a tool or approach or a technique works in one area of the software and it applies to other areas of the program. So what we're going to do next is add some lights into the window, and you can see that this window is going to have another light going horizontally and then a few more going vertically. So we're just going to increase the number across and then increase the number vertical, and then just click on OK. And then I just want to make sure I have that centered in the wall by using our center object tool and then just coming over to our wall. And there we know that that is perfectly centered. And if you go over to our floor plan view, you'll notice that the program's automatically updated our floor plan to include that window with our dimensions. And if we go back to the 3D view, we can continue adding windows into the plan. So I'm going to add another window just on this side. And then I'm going to double click on it to open it up. And then I'm going to change the width of this window to be 21 inches wide. And I'm going to leave the height at 48 inches. And then I'm also going to change this one to be fixed glass. And then we're also going to increase the number of lights in this window as well. And then we're just going to click on OK. And then just like how we did with the side lights over here, I'm going to select a copy of it and then just reflect it about the window. And there we have that other window on the other side. So next let's rotate our plan a little bit, and I'm going to select this window in the front, and then I'm going to select copy, and then just come in here and place it in the side. And then if we go back to the floor plan, you can tell the program precisely how far you want this window to be from this front wall. And so I'm going to select that window and then come over to the dimension and select it. And then I'm just going to type in how far I want it to be from the front. And you can see that the program has automatically updated that. And then we're going to place one more window in the back over here. And I'm going to make sure that I copy this window and then just come in and place it. And then we're actually going to open up this window. And then we're going to resize it to be 32 inches wide by 39 inches high. And then we'll go ahead and adjust one of our lights slightly. And then click on OK. And then I'm just going to dimension it to be 4 feet 8 inches from this wall on the right hand side. And there we have those windows precisely added to the plan. So next let's add some corner boards like you see in the photo of our completed design. And adding these corner boards is really easy in Home Designer software. If we go back to our 3D view and then we go up to our build menu and then down to trim, there's an option here if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Professional for auto place corner boards. And when I click that, it's just automatically going to place corner boards throughout the plan. If you're using Home Designer Suite, you can go to build, trim, and then just click on corner boards and then go through and manually place corner boards where you would like to throughout your plan. So now that we've got the corner boards added to the plan, let's go ahead and change up the materials in the plans so that they match what we see in the photo of our completed design. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize our photo, and changing materials in your plan is really easy in Home Designer software. Earlier we showed how you can use the material eyedropper tool to select a material and then apply it to other objects in your design. With that tool selected, I'm going to select the glass on our front door, and then I'm just going to apply it to our side lights, and then I'm also going to apply it to our custom garage door. So now that we've got our glass material updated, let's update the colors that you see on the doors, our trim around our doors, and our windows as well. And what I've actually done is I've gone out to Sherwin-Williams website and I found a paint color that I really like and that I want to use in this design. From Sherwin-Williams website, this color is a darker material called tricorn black, and we actually get the model number of the paint right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight over this number, and then I'm going to right click it and copy it. And then if we go back to the program and then open up our library browser, and if we go down to our manufacturer catalogs, Chief Architect actually has the Sherwin-Williams catalog available to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the search bar and then right click, and then I'm just going to paste in that number, and the program's going to pull up that paint. And if I select on that paint and then right click and then click on Show in Browser, it'll show you where that paint color is located in the browser, and you can see that's under our Sherwin-Williams folder, which has a lot of options available. So with that color selected, when I bring my mouse into the plan, you'll notice that it's that spray icon that we used earlier. In the bottom left hand corner, there's different scoping modes for how you would like to apply this material in the design. Currently I'm on the component mode, so if I come over to the door and click on it, I'll only replace the material on a single component. If you switch to object mode and then click on a material on an object, you'll replace that material anywhere it's located on that entire object. So in this case with our window, when I click on it, it'll be replacing that dark blue material everywhere it's at on the window with this new black material. Similarly, you can come down and select room, floor, or plan, and it will replace that material anywhere it's located at, either in the room, floor, or the plan. And this last option here will blend the material with the color. So for example, if you had a wood grain and you wanted to retain the grain texture of it, but you wanted to change the color to be a lighter or darker color, you can retain that grain. For this plan, what we're going to do is we're going to select on the plan option, so that when we select on materials on the front here, we'll be replacing that material anywhere it's located at in the plan. So I'm going to come over to this corner board and click on it once, and you'll notice there at the trim all throughout our plan updated, since that was the same material. And then I'm going to make a few other changes. Notice that our window is updated there. We'll come over here to our garage door, and you'll notice that changed. And one thing that you might have noticed there is that the baseboards changed, since that had the same material as that garage door. If you really like this material and you wanted to put it in your user catalog for future use, that's really easy to do. Simply come down to where that material was, right click on it and select copy, and then if we come down to the user catalog, you can select on it, right click, and select paste, and there that material is there for future use. You can also create folders under your user catalog, so if you right click and then go to new, you could create a new folder where you could hold your favorite materials. So that's going to be all the material changes we make for now. Let's go ahead and close the library browser, and if we go over to our floor plan view, you'll notice that we're starting to get a lot of information, and maybe it's time to clean it up a little bit. There's a lot of information being displayed in our floor plan. There's these green dashed lines where our roof planes are. We have dimensions, room labels. If you zoom in close, there's corner boards, and we can clean up what we see displayed here by turning off layers. If you go up to Tools and then Display Options, or if you're using Home Designer Pro, you have a shortcut for display options right here. You can turn on and off the display of what you see in your floor plan. This dialog might look a little bit different depending on which program you're using, with Home Designer Pro having the most customization options. But what we're going to do is we're just going to turn off some of the layers that we see in our floor plan. So the first layer I'm going to turn off is going to be for our corner boards, and I'm going to select that layer and then uncheck the display column. And then we're going to go down to our dimensions and turn off both our automatic and our manual dimensions. And actually, let's leave our automatic dimensions on for now. And then let's go down to our roof planes layer. And let's turn off the display of our roof planes for now. And then under our room labels layer, we're going to turn off seeing the interior dimensions that you see displayed here. And let's go ahead and click on OK. So by making just a few simple changes there, we cleaned it up quite a bit, but there's still some improvements we can make, particularly in this area right here where it's starting to get a little bit crowded. If you're using Home Designer Suite or Architectural, one way you can clean up the display of your dimensions is by selecting your dimension tools, holding Shift, selecting over your dimensions, pressing Delete on your keyboard, and then going back through with your dimension tools and then just redimensioning where these objects are locating. If you come in here and select on one of these dimension strings, you'll notice that you get little diamond handles indicating the objects that you're locating, and you can just click on these diamond handles and just drag them off to clean up your dimensions. And you're noticing that I'm getting a message here indicating that by doing that we would turn off our automatic dimensions in this case. I'm going to go ahead and click on No because I just want to demonstrate how these tools work. If you also click on that dimension string, you'll notice that there's an extra diamond handle there, which you can click and drag and bring back into your design to dimension points in the plan. I'm going to once again click on No, and if you're using Home Designer Professional, a feature I wanted to illustrate that makes dimensioning your floor plans a little bit easier is customizing your dimension settings. If you go up to your Settings button in your toolbar, or go to Edit and then Default Settings, you can tell the program how you want the different tools and objects to behave. In Home Designer Professional, if you go to Dimensions, you have this option right here for Auto Exterior Dimensions. Here you can tell the program if you want it to ignore interior walls like we have right here. Let's go ahead and check this. And then let's go ahead and check that we want to auto refresh our dimensions when we make changes in the plan. And then in Home Designer Pro, you have this option for Locate Objects, where you can tell the program if you want it to be locating your wall surfaces versus your framing layer, or if you want to locate openings. So you can see that we're locating our opening sides, and I'm just going to go ahead and uncheck this, and then when I click on OK, it's going to clean up our floor plan quite a bit and make it just easier to read. And then I'm just going to click on Done there. So now that we've cleaned up our plan there, let's take a look at how we can add a second story into the design. The second story is going to have the same siding material as the first floor and the same windows style that we see on the first floor. So to add your second story, go up to Build, Floor, Build New Floor, and there's also other options here for building floors. But when you select this, the program is going to ask how you want to build the second floor. This first option is just going to follow the exterior walls on the first floor to build the second floor, or you can start a blank new plan and just freehand draw your second story walls in. I'm going to build the second floor based off of our first floor plan and click on OK. And that's going to bring up a box for the second floor defaults in regards to how high you want your ceiling heights to be, or your ceiling and floor structures, if you want your moldings to be different or any different materials. I'm just going to go ahead and accept them for how they are and click on OK. And you can see that we have a blank new canvas for the second floor with our exterior walls. In the top toolbar right here, you'll notice that we're on the second floor. And if we go to our 3D view, we're still on the first floor because we're using that dollhouse view, which is floor level specific, but we can go up to the second floor and see how that's coming into the design. So when you compare our 3D view with our photo of the completed design, you can see that these walls on the second floor are going to have to be pushed back to meet our design requirements. So let's go ahead and make these changes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in both our 2D and our 3D view. I'm just going to reposition our 3D view slightly. And for your design, you might want to align walls or rooms on the second floor with walls or rooms on the first floor. You can turn on your reference display using this option in the toolbar on the right using Home Designer Pro. You can also press the shortcut hotkey on your keyboard F9, and it'll show you where objects on that first floor are located. In this particular design, it's not necessary to have that turned on. I just wanted to show you where that's at in case you ever need to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. And then to dimension your second floor, you can just use that auto exterior dimension feature that we had used earlier. And we have dimensions now on our second floor. And now we're at a point where we would just go in, select a wall, dimension our walls, and move them around until we have them in the position we want. And then go through and add our interior walls and dimension them, and then add windows and doors, customize them, and dimension them just like how we did on the first floor. And since we've already become familiar with how these tools work when we created the first floor plan, in the interest of saving time for this webinar, I'm just going to go ahead and load an iteration of this plan which already has the walls, doors, and windows added. And so I'm going to go ahead and open this file now. So you can see that I've got that second floor completed, and I've already defined what type of rooms we're going to have on the second floor. There's windows added, and if we take a look at a 3D dollhouse view, you'll notice that our flooring materials are updated, and you'll also know that the roof is protruding into the front here. And that's because when we moved our walls on the second floor back a little bit with that auto rebuild roof feature turned on, it automatically rebuilt the roofs. And we'll adjust our roofs here in a little bit. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to our first floor. And I'm just going to navigate our 3D view slightly. And what we need to do is we need to add stairs going from our first floor to our second floor. And our stairs are going to be about here going up to our second floor. And let's go ahead and pull our 3D view side by side with our first floor and go down to our first floor. So here is a final photo of loosely what our final stairs will look like. They're an L-shaped stair that starts off with a few treads and then turns 90 degrees going up to the second floor. You'll also notice that we have an open area above these stairs, and we have walls underneath these stairs, and there's actually going to be some closet space in here, and then we have a half wall over on this side for the railing. So to add stairs in our plan, you go up to your stair tools, and there's going to be a couple of different options. There's just our general draw stair tool, our straight stairs tool, and if you're using Home Designer Suite, this was added to the 2021 version of the software. Curved stair, an L-shaped stair, a U-shaped stair, a ramp tool, and this was added to Home Designer Suite and Architectural in the 2021 version, and then a landing. We're going to use our L-shaped stair, and if I click on it once, the program is going to ask us how we want to build the stair. And new to the 2021 version is to automatically have it make winders or split the landing for us if we're using a U-shaped stair. And I'm just going to accept this for how it is and click on OK. And you'll notice I get a little preview as to what it's going to look like. And as I move it around to different walls and positions in the plan, the program's going to change which wall it snaps to and which way is up. So as I bring it over here, you can see roughly where I'm going to place them, and I'm just going to click once to place them, and the program's going to add them to the plan. If you want to be very precise with where these stairs are located, what you can do is in your floor plan view, you can come up to your dimension tools, and I'm going to select our end-to-end dimension tool, and you can just click where you want these stairs to be dimensioning to. In this case, you can see that I selected this stair, and the dimension snaps to the front of the house, but you can select the dimension and then select that diamond handle and click and drag it so it's coming back to the interior drywall surface. And then if you come over to your stair section and hold Control on your keyboard and then select these three stair sections, you'll notice that that dimension is gray, indicating that we can change it when we click on it. And then just type in a new dimension and press enter, and the program will move those stairs where you would like them to in the plan. You can select on these stair sections, and you'll notice that we get little handles indicating we can change them. So if we wanted to increase the width of these stairs, we could do so. I'm going to go ahead and press undo there. You can also change the number of treads you have, and when we bring these treads back, you notice that the program automatically rebuilds both stair sections there. And if we close this dollhouse camera, and then in our floor plan view, go up to our camera tools, and then just select our full camera and click and point at the stairs, you can see that our stairs are going up into our second floor. If you double click on these stairs, you can open up their specification, and there's a lot of ways you can customize these stairs. On the general panel, you can adjust the staircase information, and if you click on this Make Best Fit button, the program is going to automatically rerun the calculations to make them reach the second floor. Additionally, down below you can specify information about the treads or the depth of your treads. You can specify the lengths of your stair sections, your tread depths, and other pieces of information. And some of these more advanced pieces of information will be available in Home Designer Pro. Over on the left, you have different panels with pieces of information you can adjust. And these panels may vary by program, but if you go down to Style here, you can adjust the tread overhang or the runner options. If you go to Stringer and you're using Home Designer Pro 2021, a new feature added to the current version is more control over your stringers. So you can specify the number of stringers or have custom stringers and specify the information for where those are located. You can change information about your railings. So let's go ahead and take off the railing on the wall on the left-hand side. You can adjust your newels, your rails, and other pieces of information. Let's go ahead and click on OK. And when we do that, the only thing that changed there is our railing on the wall got removed. And if we move our camera up to the second floor and then reposition it so that we're looking at those stairs, you see that these stairs are coming through into the second floor. If we select those stairs, in the bottom toolbar there's different controls for your stairs, and there's an option here for auto stairwell, and when you click on that, the program's going to automatically cut a hole in your floor platform so that your stairs have a nice stairwell. In this case, the stairwell looks a little bit uncommon, and what we're actually going to do is have this front area be nice and open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo our auto stairwell, and then I'm going to pull our 3D view side by side with our floor plan view. And then what we're going to do is in our floor plan view, we're going to zoom in here, and I'm going to drag this wall across, and this wall is going to end up being where we want our stairs to reach on the second floor to come up right here. So I'm just going to drag this wall across, and actually let's close this 3D view and switch back to our dollhouse view so that it's a little bit easier to see. We're just going to drag this wall across, and the reason we're dragging this wall across is because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go down to the first floor, and we're going to turn on our reference floor display and adjust where our stairs are ending so that they're ending right here. So I'm going to go down to the first floor, and then I'm going to turn on that reference floor display, and then I'm going to make sure I have my reference floor display displaying the floor above. So I'm going to click on this option, and I'm going to change our reference floor to be the second floor and click on OK. And there you can see where that wall is on the second floor. And I'm just going to select our stairwell and then just drag the stair section until it's coming up to our reference floor display. And there we know it's positioned correctly. And then we can turn that reference floor display off since we don't need it anymore. And then over in our floor plan view, let's go up to the second floor. And by dragging this wall across and enclosing this space, we've formed a room. And we can click in this area and then open it up. And right here there's a room type called open below, and the reason we have this is because we created that stairwell earlier and the program remembered that that space was previously used for a stairwell. I'm just going to go ahead and accept it for how it is and click on OK. But the next thing I want to do is I want to make this area right here a railing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on this wall, and you'll notice there that I get this whole wall from end to end. But in the bottom toolbar down here there's an option for break, which will let us split this wall where we click. So I clicked on this intersection, and now we have just this short wall segment, and I'm going to open it up, and then on this general panel I'm going to click on this option for railing, and the program's going to change it to a railing, and then I'm just going to click on OK. And then with that added, what we're going to do right here is we're just going to go over to our door tools and select the doorway, and then just come over and click once to place it, and then in my floor plan view I'm going to zoom in, select that doorway, and then just make it as wide as our stair section is. And then that's going to complete adding our stairwell and railing on the second floor. I'm going to go ahead and close this dollhouse view, zoom out a little bit, and then just go back down to the first floor, go over to our camera tools, and then with our full camera selected, click and point it at our stairs. And then what we're going to do next is add a closet underneath of our stairs. And so let's pull our 3D view and floor plan view side by side. And what we're going to do is we're just going to select this wall right here and then just drag it down so that it's underneath our stairs. Now, one thing you'll notice is we can see where that wall starts, but we cannot see where it's at underneath our stairs. One trick you might use to see where this wall is underneath your stairs is by setting a fill transparency on these stair sections. So selecting this first stair section and then holding Control, selecting the landing and then the other stair section, and then opening up these objects. If you go down to fill style right here, you can opt to include a transparency, and I'm just going to click on OK, and there you can see where that wall is located at underneath those stairs. So then I'm just going to select this wall, and you'll notice there that I select the stair section, but if you get close you should be able to select it, or you can press tab to cycle through other objects in the general vicinity. And then I'm just going to select the diamond handle available in Home Designer Pro and then just drag it over. And then you'll notice I need to adjust it just a little bit, and then I'm just going to bump it up so that's over on the edge. And if we come over to our 3D view and then rotate it around, you can see that that's looking pretty good. And then the other thing that we might want to adjust is to add a door over in this area. So I'm going to go over to our door tools with the hinge door selected, come in and click once to place it for the closet. And then on the other side we're going to have that half wall being our railing. And the ability to do this is going to be a feature available only in Home Designer Professional. But to get started, I'm going to go ahead and delete this dimension. You go up to your wall tools, select your straight interior wall, and then just click and drag to place it in the plan. and then just select it and move it close to that stair section, and then open up its specification. And then we're going to check this option for railing. If we go down into rail style, we're going to specify it that we want it to be solid. And then down here in Home Designer Pro, there's an option for follow stairs. And then I'm going to click on OK. And then with that rail section selected, I'm just going to use the arrows on my keyboard to bump it really close. And there we've got it in position. And then that's going to complete all the work we're going to do on the stairs. So next, let's add some electrical objects into our plan. I'm going to go ahead and close our 3D view for now. But to go up to your electrical options, go up to your tools right here, and you'll notice that there's options for outlets and switches and lights. And what we're going to do is we're first going to place a light, and I'm just going to come in and click once to place it. And from here you could go up to your dimension tools and then dimension how far you want this light from your walls. And then you can continue adding lights if you're using Home Designer Suite or Architectural into your plan, and then just dimensioning them from each other. But one really great feature I wanted to show available in Home Designer Pro that makes placing and spacing lights really easy is the Transform Replicate tool. So with that light selected, in the bottom toolbar you have that Transform Replicate option. Here you can tell the program how many additional copies you want to place and how far apart from each other you want to place these copies. So I'm going to tell the program I want to place 2 more copies, and I'm going to space them 84 inches apart from each other, and a negative 84 inches apart from each other in our X delta. So I'm going to click on OK to place them. The program's going to automatically add those 2 more additional lights 84 inches from each other, and then I'm going to select those lights holding Control, and then I'm going to use that Transform Replicate option again. And I'm going to specify that I'm going to place 3 additional copies of this row. And this time I'm going to specify that I want them a negative 84 inches in our Y delta. And click on OK. And there we're going to place those lights. From here you could go over to your switch tool and then just click to place a switch where you would like it. And then there's an option right here for Connect Electrical that allow you to connect your switch with all these different lights. And you can adjust these electrical connections, just adjusting those arcs right there. Similarly, if you go over to your electrical tools, there's an option here for Auto Place Outlet. And when you click in a room, it's just going to automatically find the best locations for them. And if we click in this kitchen dining room, it's going to automatically place them. And if we had completed this kitchen right here and added cabinetry, it would place GFCI outlets within our kitchen space and place them in the appropriate spots above cabinets. So next you'll notice that we're starting to get quite a bit of pieces of information, and we want to be working on a roof next. So let's turn off some of our unnecessary layers and turn on some layers specific to working for our roof. So to turn on and off layers, we go up to Tools and then Display Options. And again, you have the shortcut here in Home Designer Pro. And the layers we're going to turn off are going to be our electrical layers. So I'm going to go down to Electrical, just turn those off. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our automatic and manual dimensions. And then I'm going to go down to our room labels and turn off our room labels. And then I'm going to turn on our roof planes. And then I'm going to turn on our roof labels and click on OK. So by making those few changes, we've prepared our plan for designing our roof. So this is the roof design we are going to build. We're going to explore the different tools and features for building roofs, take a look at how walls can impact your roof, and design the roof you see at the front of this house. So the first thing I'm going to do is get into a 3D view by going up to our 3D camera options, and I'm going to select the perspective full overview, which will be our entire house including the roof, whereas the dollhouse view does not include your roof or ceiling. And I'm going to pull this side by side with our floor plan view. And there's different settings throughout the program that impact how you design your roof. If you go to Build and then Roof, you'll have different tools and features for designing your roof. And Home Designer Professional is going to have these more advanced options for manual roof planes and auto dormers and a few other options you see here. But if we click on this Build Roof option, it'll bring up the Build Roof dialog box, and you can see that we have Auto Rebuild Roof turned on. And here you can make general specifications for how you want your roof to build. So if you wanted your whole roof system for the design to be a different pitch, you can change that here. We currently have an 8-inch pitch, but let's go ahead and change that to a 6. And you could also change information about your roof overhang amounts. You have different advanced pieces of information in Home Designer Professional. You can change different options for it. In Home Designer Professional, you can change different options for how the roof should frame and how it should appear in your floor plan view and different materials you can use. And if you go down to this option for roof styles, there's a lot of different roof styles that Home Designer software can automatically create very quickly in the software. And if you just click on one of them, it'll bring up detailed how-to information on creating these different roof styles. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and recall that the only change we made here was specifying that our pitch was going to be 6 instead of 8. And you can see how the software automatically updates that throughout the plan. And then one quick feature, if you wanted a gable roof just over a particular door or window, is you can click on a door or window, and then in the bottom toolbar there's an option down here for gable over door / window. You can tell the program the pitch and the overhang and click on OK. And the program will automatically add that. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And then you can also tell the program how you want your roof to build over certain walls. So if I click on this wall right here and then click on Open Object and then go down to this roof panel, there's a lot of different roof options here. So you can change it from a hip to a Dutch gable, for example. And if you want to change the pitch over this one particular wall, you can change the overhang amounts or specify a roof return. Let's go ahead and click on OK and take a look at what the Dutch gable wall looks like. You see that the program has automatically added that. If we double click on this wall to open it up and go back to roof, we can change it to a full gable wall, and the program will build a full gable roof over this wall. And then also, if you select a wall, in the bottom toolbar there's a shortcut right here to quickly toggle the roof structure from a hip to a gable. On the second floor, let's go ahead and make these two walls gable walls like you see in the photo here. So to do that, I'm going to select the wall, just press the gable button, and then same thing with this wall back here. And the program is just automatically rebuilding that roof as we go. And then we're also going to have the end over here be a gable. So let's go ahead and select it, make it a gable. And if we go around to the other side, we're going to make this one a gable as well. However, we want this to be a hip just in this portion so that the front looks a little nicer when it comes down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our second story in our floor plan view. And what I want is I want the gable that we have going across this roof to be the same all the way across over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our CAD line, and then I'm just going to come down here and drag a CAD line from that wall to the other side. And then I'm going to select this wall, and then I'm going to break it. And I'm just going to break it right where that CAD line is. So now we have two different independent sections of wall, right there and right there. And then I'm just going to tell the program that I want this front section to be a hip. And there we have that roof plane even all the way across right here. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that CAD line. And then the next thing we need to clean up is how this roof is building in front of our windows right here. The first thing you can do is if you're using Home Designer Professional, you can select on these roof planes individually and open them up and change information about where your ridges are or where the pitch is. If you're using Home Designer Professional where you have this manual roof plane control, you'll notice a new option in the 2021 version of the software to give you better control over where these are pivoting. Similarly, in Home Designer Pro, you have advanced options for how you want these roof planes to build and frame on a per roof plane basis. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. So you could just come into your plan and drag around these roof planes wherever you need them to run in Home Designer Pro. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the wall to open it up and go to the roof panel, and I'm going to change the pitch to be a 3 and 12 and press enter. And you can see how it lowered it, and we just need to do a few minor cleanups throughout this area. What I'm actually going to do first, if we come over to the side, is we need this to be a gable. So I'm going to select on this wall, make it a gable. And then over here in the front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this wall and I'm going to drag it across so that the roof automatically rebuilds in this area. And so now we have the roof structure how we want it, and we just need to clean up our wall here a little bit. But before we do that, I do not want the roof to rebuild, so I'm going to turn off the auto rebuild roof feature by going up to build, roof, build roof, uncheck auto rebuild roof, and then click on OK. And now we know that when we drag this wall back, the roof will remain the same. So I'm going to select the wall, drag it back, and there we have our roof structure in place just how we want it. So next it looks like we need to add some corner boards for the second floor. So I'm going to go up to our second floor, go to the build, trim, auto place corner boards, and I'm going to opt to not display that layer in our floor plan view. But you can see how they get added in our 3D view, and then we just need to update the material, and I can do that in my 3D view just using that material eyedropper. And you can see how by doing that we updated the roof as well. If you did not want to update that roof, you might just go around and do it on a per object basis. And next let's take a look at how our framing works in Home Designer software. If we close this 3D view, when we come up to our 3D camera options, you'll notice an option for perspective framing overview. And if I click on it, the program is just going to generate a 3D view showing our framing. If you come back into your floor plan view, in Home Designer Professional you have manual control over your framing by going to Build, and then in Home Designer Pro you have this option for framing. And so in Home Designer Pro you can manually place posts and rafters and joists and wall studs and so forth. And if you click on this Build Framing option, you can specify how the program should build the framing throughout the plan. So you can see that the subfloor between the foundation and the first floor is building according to the floor structure, which it looks like it's just using an I-joist. And you can specify the spacing, the joist width, and then similarly with the ceiling above the first floor if you wanted to rebuild it, or the subfloor for the second floor. You can specify information for how your wall should frame, your roof, and other areas of the plan. So these are features available only in Home Designer Professional. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. If you needed to make a framing plan for your layout sheets, you can do that as well. If we go to our layer display options, let's just go ahead and turn off the roof planes label. And let's make it a little bit easier to see where our framing is locating in relation to our walls by turning off the wall fill layers. And then if we go up to framing, if you're using Home Designer Professional, you'll have framing layers that you can turn on and off. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select down here, hold Shift on my keyboard and come up here, and then check that I want to display them, and click on OK. So here you can see all those framing layers in your plan, but if you just wanted to make like a floor framing plan, you can go back to your layer display options, uncheck those, and then just go to your floor joist layer and check that. And if you wanted to see your wall framing, you could check that here and click on OK. And then if we go down a floor, you can see where those framing members are located. So next let's prepare our floor plan for creating a layout sheet. So I'm going to adjust our layers slightly one more time by going up to the layer display options. I'm going to uncheck the display of that wall framing and those floor joists. And then I'm going to go up to our dimension layers by tapping D on my keyboard. Turn on our automatic and our manual dimensions. And then let's go down to our room labels and choose to display those and click on OK. So now we have a nice clean floor plan that we might want to use for our layout sheet. So to create a layout sheet, go to File and New Layout, and the layout sheet feature is available only in Home Designer Professional. I've already got a layout sheet started for this plan, so I'm going to go ahead and just load that now. So with this layout sheet, you can put your name if you wanted to, your address, maybe a brief description, and other details about this layout sheet. Additionally, in Home Designer Software 2021, there's no print size limitation, so if you needed to print full blueprints at 24 by 36 or any other size, you can do that. So to send a view to your layout, go over to your floor plan view, and then go up to File, and then Send to Layout. And then the program is going to ask you how you want to send it on over to your layout. I'm going to go ahead and specify that a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot is fine and press OK. And the program is going to have that layout here. And then I'm just going to click around and move it into our corner. And then next on your layout sheet, you might want to include an elevation view, which we haven't taken yet. So to create an elevation, go back to your floor plan view. And then just go up to your camera tools. And in this case, we're going to select our orthographic cameras. And I'm just going to select the cross-section elevation. And if you're using Home Designer Architectural, the cross-section elevation was added to the 2021 version of the software. And then you just click and point where you would like to take an elevation of. So here we have our elevation, and if you're using Home Designer, Architectural, or Professional, you can dimension these elevations. So I'm going to go up to our dimension tools, and I'm going to select the end-to-end dimension, and then I'm going to dimension from our highest roof ridge down to the top of the stem wall. And then I'm just going to drag this to the side. And then from here you can send this on over to your layout sheet by clicking the Send to Layout button. And let's specify the scale as a 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. And then I'm just going to select on our elevation and then just move it over into position. So next you could use your text tools if you wanted to and add text down here. You can send your 3D views over if you wanted to send a 3D view over to your layout sheet. So you can customize these to include whatever pieces of information you might need for creating construction documents or for more formally communicating your design with a builder. Before we wrap up this demonstration, I wanted to review the 3D rendering features of the software. If we go back up to our camera tools and select our perspective full overview, you can see that we're currently in just our standard rendering technique by going up to this option at the top that says rendering techniques. But if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Professional, you'll have a vector view. There's a glass house view, which is kind of an interesting view because it allows you to see through your plan and see what's going on the other side of walls. If you're using Home Designer Architectural Professional, you'll have a technical illustration, there's a watercolor, there's physically based rendering, and then you can adjust all the settings of how these renderings display. And that's going to conclude this webinar. If you're using an older version of the software or saw a tool or feature demoed in a higher program, we have a free trial of all 3 programs available over at homedesignersoftware.com if you would like to try out those features. If you are moving to a newer or higher up program, there are upgrade discounts available, and we have a 30-day money-back guarantee available on most purchases. And I hope you have a great day.